Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Bullion. Our guest today is Nicholas Tartaglia. Nick is the founder of the former New Gen Mindset podcast, focused on wealth and sovereignty. He is a macro analyst and behavioral economist. One of his books is called The Intelligent Millennial. Welcome back to the show, Nick.
Of course, as always a pleasure to be on, bro.
Yeah, huge pleasure having you on. I wanted to get you down to talk about, before air, we were talking about all the craziness that's happening in the world. The run for safety right now to protect yourself. What are your thoughts right now, Nick, on silver and gold? Silver is breaking out and going higher. Gold is going up higher. What the heck is happening right now?
Cutting. The stagflation thesis, which is a lot of which is one of the theses that the macroeconomic community, especially the gold community, has been talking about for a while, will be the next phase of the inflationary cycle once you really got past that big inflationary period that we just saw. Now we're in this point where governments are going to be starting to inject a ton of liquidity into the market, but they're going to see no productivity output on the opposite side of that equation.
Right.
And so this is where the data of the stagflation issue is going to be coming in, where people are realizing no matter what governments do or intervene or stimulate, it ain't solving nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is adding to the geopolitical issues. We now are starting to see the economic issues. And this is why gold is being reinforced. And then, of course, to add to that is what we just recently saw with Charlie Kirk being shot. That is a sad thing because it only adds to the lack of trust in America, and it really shows the cultural decay that America is experiencing. And the thing at the end of the day is an economy is a byproduct of the people. If we know that America is starting to collapse and its culture is starting to collapse and decay, then there is no means by which their economy can become prosperous and become a great economy when in itself they are imploding. It's like, how do you expect someone that's constantly at war within themselves to be this great human being who can solve the world's problems? They can't. They can't even
Mm-hmm.
make their own bed yet. So clearly there's problems and that's adding to the fire and showing the decoupling of the world moving away from the US dollar. Um, and then, of course, it's escalation conflict. USA is moving to Latin America, so you're seeing that kind of
Yeah.
conflict escalate, especially with Venezuela. And you're also seeing that Poland apparently shot down what was a Russian drone, and that's creating an escalation in military support from NATO at certain borders across Europe. So clearly, geopolitically, you're seeing the escalation. And from a cultural standpoint, we're seeing absolute decay within the West. So all these variables just reinforce the value of gold because gold is a safe haven from chaos. And clearly, we're still able to see that chaos expanding around the world.
So, you listed off an incredible amount of information that even I didn't know. I had no idea Poland shot down a drone. I had no idea that there's these certain things that's going on, which is pretty scary because that can escalate into further war across Europe.
Correct.
What are your thoughts on, people right now living paycheck to paycheck and really trying to protect themselves? How do they even get into gold if it's, too much for them? Would they just go straight into silver? And, since silver hit $42 US and is at 13-year, 14-year highs, how do they justify taking money from their savings to get into precious metals? What would be your guidance there, Nick?
Of course. Well, so, typically there's multiple options. People could take the approach of the hard bullion route, which is what I like to take. But the thing is, you need to understand what you're buying. You need to focus your capital on buying sovereign bullion to make sure that the resale value is exactly what you're going to get out of it.
Right.
But if people want to take more of an equity exposure, buying large ETFs, buying Sprott and their trust around precious metals, that's another great way to get exposed to it, especially if you want the quick liquidity aspect of equities that you can get in and then sell right away, which might take a little more time when you're dealing with gold and silver. Although it's not hard to sell in North America, you just have to find someone, a local, coin shop or pawn shop that'll easily liquidate for you. But if you take equity positions, it's a great way to get leverage on the base price of the commodity, gold, silver, but also the opportunity to make a great return out of it. You can get exposure to the biggest gold producers in the world, and some of them still are not really all that high relative to where gold is now compared to where gold was in 2021, when some of these stocks were ripping all-time high. Perfect example is Newmont. Newmont is roughly $108 right now Canadian in stock. But in the last all-time high of 110 in 2022, that was when gold was at 2,300 USD. Gold is at almost 3,700 US dollars right now, and Newmont hasn't even broken its all-time high when gold was half that value. So there's still a lot of gaps to take advantage in the market. And of course, if you want to take a little more risk and you really want that potential multi-bagger exposure, that's where the mining stocks, the junior mining stocks come in because you can easily get 2, 3, 4, 5x. But that takes a little more stomach. And it definitely someone who's more invested in observing markets. That's something that I would recommend. Otherwise, I'd say create yourself a basket. Get a little bit gold, get some silver. Although silver relative to gold is still extremely cheap. Get some major producers out there that they'll produce insane cash flow. The next couple months of quarterlies from these major gold and silver producers, they're going to be demonstrating insane cash flows, and they're going to make it insane revenues that you're going to start seeing the stock price really outperform, even though
Yeah.
they've pretty performed well relatively in the last couple months. So there's options out there, and people still have a chance to make some money off of these prices.
Welcome to the Cayman Islands, a premier offshore jurisdiction where natural beauty meets financial stability. Here, your wealth is more than secure. It thrives in one of the most trusted and respected financial centers in the world. For over a decade, SWP has been the trusted choice for precious metal investors worldwide. Our purpose-built 6,000 square foot facility sets a new standard in precious metals storage. We are proud to be one of the only vault operators approved by the London Bullion Market Association. Beyond safeguarding your assets, we're committed to making a difference in our community by supporting local causes and events that reflect our values. As we continue to expand and innovate our services, we ensure that your wealth is safe and strategically positioned to shield you from the uncertainties that lie ahead. Strategic wealth preservation, trusted today and ready for tomorrow.
Well, absolutely, Nick. That's great guidance for everyone. That's thank you so much. Now, looking at, Charlie Kirk and what happened with him, do you think the USA is escalating into a civil war or something even deeper than that, like a cultural war? What are your thoughts?
I think it's going to be some form of cultural war, and I think it's indicative of the real division that's coming to America. I think there is no point of return. I think the death of Charlie Kirk was really the linchpin that showed truly how divided America was and how much hate there is among the two major political classes of America. And if those two parties don't join together, then I feel like what's going to have to happen is that the government of America is going to have to find some sort of major crisis to kind of eliminate that tension between these two classes and bring the people back together. And that's the scary part because what kind of crisis are they going to use? There's going to be military conflict. There's going to be a financial crisis that they're going to have to leverage. Are they going to find themselves a new external enemy that are going to help to bring the Democrats and the Republicans together? But outside of some sort of external force or some sort of major black swan, America right now is absolute in a cultural war, and it could escalate into much more physical conflict, as we're seeing in Europe right now. France, Germany, and England are all having some of the biggest protests they've ever seen in their history
Yeah,
because people are protesting the major migration problems, the lack of confidence in their governments. The French government literally just failed again. They just had a
crazy.
non-confidence vote. Their government just collapsed again. Like Europe is falling apart, all because again, they're so divided culturally within Europe and within the West that we just don't have I mean, I don't have a positive outlook for the West because people are just so divided. So again, that's why gold and silver, ironically, is a positive or is inversely correlated to the decay of the West. So it brings stability and it brings you a hedge or a protective hedge against what's happening in the West.
Hello, my silver and gold bugs. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the video. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future uploads. Back to the video. Absolutely. Now, Nick, before you go, what would be your last kind of guidance message for everyone out there, everyone on this channel, everyone watching this for the first time and seeing you for the first time? What would be whether it has to be through investing, whether it has to be just, a guidance message right now to people who are struggling? What would be your simple message to them?
Stop depending on the government. Stop believing their numbers. Stop believing in the illusion of the Keynesian economic system we've built.
Hmm.
Believe what your eyes see, which is what we see as the decay of the West. Believe that the Eastern blocs are absolutely moving and building a financial infrastructure that will allow them to be or to have their own advantage and to operate outside of the dollar,
Yeah.
even though the dollar will still have its place. But believe in a shift in global order, a shift in monetary system,
Hmm.
and you want to build your foundation knowing this is true. Do not be exposed to what's coming. Do not depend on a future pension from the government. Build your own wealth, build your own foundation, have liquidity. Don't overburden yourself with too much debt. Um, and don't believe all the bullshit illusions the government's telling you. There are problems in the system and it is cracking. And we are starting to see this end of this monetary cycle that's been building for the last century. So start studying, study some Austrian economics, go look at some incredible people that exist there. This channel is a great source of incredible names that have that they themselves have a ton of other content out there on YouTube. There are
Hmm.
some incredible names that you can go study some stuff. Just don't trust the central system and don't believe what they're saying. There are problems and figure out a way to stay out of that to mitigate those chaos.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. That's incredible advice for everyone. And Nick, such a huge pleasure having you come down. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to speaking to our community, to speaking to the silver and gold movement here on this channel. Where can people find your work?
So you can find me on Instagram at Nick Tartaglia. You could also find me on X at Imperium_Mind, and you can also find me on Substack, Nick Tartaglia's Macro Insights Report, where I write on a global on a monthly basis a global macro report where I dissect global developments around culture, politics, and economics. Because economies are a byproduct of human activity, I'm trying to paint a picture by observing human activity around the world. And that's how you truly see that problems are escalating and not, kind of recessing. So that's where you can find my stuff. Check out my work, check out what I write, and keep staying on top of what's happening around the world.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, Nick. And everyone watching this, highly recommend you go follow Nick and hit the like and subscribe button on this video. Nick, huge, huge pleasure having you come down. And as the market develops, really love to have you back on soon.
Of course. Thanks, Evan.
Talk to you soon.